President Obama will be speaking here in 30 seconds. Last night, we now know that Tomahawk cruise missiles left ships in the Red Sea as well as the northern Persian Gulf headed for Syria. We know that 5 Arab countries helped the United States. We know that Great Britain did not. As for what happened, we're going to find out now as President Obama comes to the podium right in front of Marine One, right outside the Oval Office. It's 9:10. ABC News is next on KTRS.
This is live coverage from ABC News. Attack on ISIS. From ABC News headquarters, here is correspondent Aaron Katersky.
President Obama is about to speak after the United States expanded its fight against ISIS. The U.S. and 5 Arab nations struck targets in Syria with a barrage of firepower that included Tomahawk missiles and a stealth F-22 Raptor. ABC's Stephen Portnoy is at the White House, where the president is about to depart for New York. Stephen.
Aaron, before leaving for 3 days of meetings at the UN, President Obama is likely to tout the formation of a military coalition that we now know includes Arab nations, 5 of them: Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates. Mr. Obama hopes to bolster that coalition with more public commitments from other countries that he hopes to secure at the UN this week. Aaron.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy live at the White House. The president will speak from the South Lawn prior to his departure for New York, and he will speak at a small podium. The backdrop is Marine One, set to take off from the White House South Lawn to New York City, where President Obama will be delivering remarks today and tomorrow at the United Nations. The president is making his way to that podium now. The U.S. attacked ISIS and another terror group, an offshoot of al-Qaeda, that's considered a bigger direct threat to the U.S. homeland. We may hear remarks about Khorasan from the president. He's now waving to a group of assembled reporters and others who are on the South Lawn. President of the United States.
Good morning, everybody. Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria. Today, the American people give thanks for the extraordinary service of our men and women in uniform, including the pilots who flew these missions with the courage and professionalism that we've come to expect from the finest military that the world's ever known. Earlier this month, I outlined for the American people our strategy to confront the threat posed by the terrorist group known as ISIL. I made clear that as part of this campaign, the United States would take action against targets in both Iraq and Syria, so that these terrorists can't find safe haven anywhere. I also made clear that America would act as part of a broad coalition, and that's exactly what we've done. We were joined in this action by our friends and partners: Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Bahrain, and Qatar. America is proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with these nations on behalf of our common security. The strength of this coalition makes it clear to the world that this is not America's fight alone. Above all, the people and governments of the Middle East are rejecting ISIL and standing up for the peace and security that the people of the region and the world deserve. Meanwhile, we will move forward with our plan, supported by bipartisan majorities in Congress, to ramp up our effort to train and equip the Syrian opposition, who are the best counterweight to ISIL and the Assad regime. And more broadly, over 40 nations have offered to help in this comprehensive effort to confront this terrorist threat, to take out terrorist targets, to train and equip Iraqi and Syrian opposition fighters who are going up against ISIL on the ground, to cut off ISIL's financing, to counter its hateful ideology, and to stop the flow of fighters into and out of the region. Last night, we also took strikes to disrupt plotting against the United States and our allies by seasoned al-Qaeda operatives in Syria who are known as the Khorasan Group. And once again, it must be clear to anyone who would plot against America and try to do Americans harm that we will not tolerate safe havens for terrorists who threaten our people. I've spoken to leaders in Congress, and I'm pleased that there is bipartisan support for the actions that we're taking. America is always stronger when we stand united, and that unity sends a powerful message to the world that we will do what's necessary to defend our country. Over the next several days, I will have the opportunity to meet with Prime Minister Abadi of Iraq and with friends and allies at the United Nations to continue to building support for the coalition that is confronting this serious threat to our peace and security. The overall effort will take time. There will be challenges ahead, but we're going to do what's necessary to take the fight to this terrorist group. for the security of the country and the region and for the entire world. Thanks. God bless our troops. God bless America.
Live from the South Lawn of the White House, President Obama, the morning after he ordered airstrikes against ISIS targets in Syria. I'm Aaron Katursky. You're listening to live coverage from ABC News. The president said this is not America's fight alone. He mentioned a coalition that includes Jordan, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia. He said another 40 nations have offered their support. Let's turn back to the White House and ABC's Stephen Portnoy. Stephen.
Aaron, those remarks ran about 3 minutes. The president said that the Arab allies make it clear to the world that this is not America's fight alone. He now heads to the United Nations and
got it.
To the General Assembly tomorrow, and then tomorrow afternoon, something rather historic. For the second time in UN history, an American president will be presiding over a UN Security Council meeting. Mr. Obama has done it before. He did it in 2009, but now he does it in the context of this international fight against ISIS. He'll be calling for a Chapter 7 resolution, a key resolution that calls for member nations of the United Nations to stop the flow of foreign fighters to and from Iraq and Syria for the purpose of joining ISIS. We know that at least 100 Americans have made that trip, and some, we learned yesterday, have come back to the United States already, Aaron.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy live at the White House, where President Obama is now about to depart on Marine One for New York. On ISIS, he said the fight will continue. It will take time. But the president said the U.S. would do what is necessary. And on Khorasan, the al-Qaeda offshoot group, the president said it must be made clear to anyone who intends to harm the U.S. we will not tolerate any safe havens for terrorists. I'm Aaron Katursky. You've been listening to live coverage from ABC News.
All right, so there you have the latest from President Obama outside of the Oval Office. It's interesting if you're looking at a map, and I know those of you who are listening on the radio can't necessarily look at a map, but the Tomahawk cruise missiles left from ships in the Red Sea and the northern Persian Gulf, which sort of flanks Saudi Arabia. The United Arab Emirates is a country right there on the shore, right there on the Persian Gulf shore. Qatar is right there on the Persian Gulf. Bahrain is right there on the Persian Gulf. Jordan is next to Syria, and so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all five all five Arab countries are all right there next to Saudi Arabia. So with regional support, is it safe to say, since Jordan borders Syria, that this strike was took last night. So no word on how much damage was done, no word on if these will continue, how long that they will continue, and in what capacity. But there you now know everything we know, that President Obama said what he said, and he moved on to Marine One to leave for the day. So that's the latest. It's 9:17. We'll take a quick break, and we will come back. Big 550.